The story begins within the notorious game, Gangster Love. In a grim, industrial wasteland, armed men are closing in on their targets with lethal intent. The game's main characters, Do-gyum and the silver-haired Yoon-seol, are trapped. Do-gyum is gravely wounded and urges Yoon-seol to flee, but she refuses to abandon him. With no escape in sight, he tells her he can't bear the thought of her with anyone else. He shoves her away, trying to give her a chance to escape, but a gunshot cracks through the air. Yoon-seol throws herself in front of him, taking the hit. As she collapses, her final plea is for him to live. Suddenly, a choice appears on the screen: die with him or seek revenge. The scene pulls back to reveal a frustrated gamer, Baek Ae-hee, staring at her monitor and groaning in annoyance. It's yet another bad ending route where everyone is gone. This game is just a series of tragedies, and she's had enough of it. Our gamer, Baek Ae-hee, stares at her screen in disbelief, wondering how many hours she's wasted on Gangster Love. The game is infamous, rated for its brutality, with a reputation for having no happy ending. That very challenge is what got her hooked. She slams her desk, frustrated after reaching her dozenth bad ending. Her phone buzzes with a message from a friend, calling her crazy for sinking 40 hours into a game they quit on day one. But Ae-hee is stubborn. She feels she has to see just one good ending before she can walk away. The problem is, falling for the male lead, the world's #1 gangster, seems to have a 99% chance of getting you eliminated. She collapses onto her bed, realizing it's her birthday. The special occasion is marked by a lonely meal of instant noodles and a beer. Ignoring the birthday wishes on her phone, she scoffs. Since her real life feels empty, she decides to pour all her focus into her 2D boyfriend, Seo Do-gyum, determined to find a new path for him. Frustrated, Ae-hee collapses onto her bed. She thinks about the game's tragic romance. Despite the bad endings, she can't help but wish she could experience a love that deep just once. And maybe with a guy like Seo Do-gyum. The moment the thought crosses her mind, her computer screen blares to life, flashing loading. Start. Her vision blurs and then refocuses. She's no longer in her room, but sitting in a classroom. Right next to her is the man himself, Seo Do-gyum, looking exactly like he did on screen. She stares at her own hands, confused. Checking her school uniform, she finds a name tag, Baek Ae-hee. After a quick moment of pure panic, she accepts the unbelievable truth. She's been pulled into the game. Just as she's processing this, a pink game window appears before her eyes, welcoming her to the story. A system message confirms it. Baby gangster Seo Do-gyum acknowledges the existence of supporting character Baek Ae-hee. She stares in shock. This is a status window. This is real. Ae-hee's mind races. Getting noticed by Seo Do-gyum is a massive red flag in this game, practically a shortcut to a bad ending. She tries to calm down and heads to the school's computer lab, desperately searching for any information on Gangster Love. The search comes up empty. This confirms it. The game doesn't exist in this reality, and the status window is her only lifeline. Just then, a new notification details her character's backstory. She's Baek Ae-hee, an orphan and a transfer student who is supposed to live with her parents' friend. Lost in this grim realization, she walks straight into someone. It's Do-gyum. A curse slips out of her mouth from the shock. He stares for a moment before turning and walking away, leaving her bewildered. Another window pops up, warning this is the first step toward a bad ending. A mission prompt then appears. Follow him. As she walks behind him, she realizes they're not just classmates. They're headed to the exact same house. This is her new home, and he lives there too. Ae-hee follows Do-gyum to a jaw-droppingly huge mansion, realizing this must be her new home. As they approach the gate, a line of men in suits bows in perfect sync, welcoming Baek Ae-hee. She freezes in confusion. This house, meant for a minor character like her, is actually the male lead's home. The situation is so unbelievable that she starts to panic, trying to convince the men they've got the wrong person. Do-gyum, clearly annoyed by the spectacle, tells her to stop messing around and come inside. A system window flashes a warning. He finds her joke completely unfunny. He then casually mentions that his father told him she was coming. Ae-hee is stunned. In the original game, Do-gyum's father was never seen or mentioned. Inside, the mansion is even more grand. She is met by an imposing man who introduces himself as Do-gyum's father, Seo I-hyum. As she stammers a greeting, another system message pops up, officially welcoming her to the Seo family mansion. Her fate is now undeniably tangled with the main characters. Inside the grand mansion, surrounded by men in dark suits, I-hee meets an imposing figure. He confirms he is Seo I-hyum, Do-gyum's father, and remarks that she looks just like her late mother. The comment shocks I-hee, who now understands her parents were also part of this dangerous world. I-hyum continues, stating her fiery personality is just like her father's. He then gets to the point. He is fulfilling her parents' last wish to protect her until she became an adult. Overwhelmed, I-hee panics about rent, but I-hyum scoffs at the idea, assuring her that her stay is free. This kindness only deepens her suspicion. She politely tries to leave, claiming she needs to go home to think. However, I-hyum delivers a final, crushing blow. She no longer has a home to return to. With cold finality, he informs her he already sold it, leaving her completely trapped in her new reality. I-hee's disbelief quickly turns to anger. She confronts Seo I-hyum, demanding to know what right he had to sell her home. Trying to save face, she attempts to leave, saying she'll see Do-gyum at school. But as she turns, a system window pops up with a brutal update. Her status is now homeless, penniless bum, and a second notification confirms she has no emergency funds. The shock of being completely broke and stranded sends her reeling, and she nearly falls to the floor. Do-gyum steadies her, questioning her sudden strange behavior. Realizing she has no other choice, I-hee's personality does a complete 180. With a bright, cheerful smile, she announces she is reconsidered. To honor her parents' will, she will happily live in the mansion. Seo I-hyum, pleased they're finally on the same page, tells Do-gyum to show I-hee to the room next to his. Do-gyum quietly agrees, leading the way. As they arrive at her new room, Do-gyum stops and delivers a final, cold warning. He advises her to live as quietly as possible, making it clear he dislikes annoying situations like her earlier outburst. With that, he leaves her alone. Miffed, I-hee realizes she's already on the gangster male lead's bad side. However, her irritation vanishes the moment she opens the door. She's met with a luxurious bedroom suite, complete with a king-sized canopy bed and a top-of-the-line computer. Though momentarily giddy, she quickly forces herself to focus. Now inside the lion's den, her top priority is gathering information. Sitting at the desk, she recalls her last moments in her world, playing gangster love and drunkenly wishing she could experience that kind of deep love herself. The horrifying truth dawns on her. That careless wish is what trapped her here. She understands almost nothing about this new reality or her character's backstory, except for the one grim certainty she knows from the game: the tragic future awaiting Do-gyum if she fails to change his path. Sitting at her new desk, I-hee pieces together the grim timeline from the game. Seo Do-gyum's tragic journey began after his father, Seo I-hyum, met an untimely end during Do-gyum's second year of high school. A sudden realization hits her. She is currently a second-year student. This means she has arrived exactly 1 year before the game's main plot kicks off, right at the start of the tragic prologue. If she can't prevent Seo I-hyum's fate, Do-gyum is destined for a life of ruin. Hope sparks within her. As the only one who knows the future, she might be the key to saving him. Her thoughts are shattered as the door slams open. A hostile young man storms in, calling her a freeloader. It's Seo Yeol, Do-gyum's younger brother. He furiously demands to know who she is to just move in, shoving her back onto the bed and telling her to leave. Not one to back down. I-hee calls him a rude brat. Their argument is cut short when Do-gyum appears, calmly placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. He tells Yeol to watch his mouth before turning his cool gaze on I-hee, asking why she hasn't changed out of her uniform. Do-gyum calmly tells his brother they're all set, instructing both him and I-hee to come downstairs. A confused I-hee follows them into the dining room and stops in her tracks. An incredible feast is laid out before them, complete with a beautifully decorated birthday cake. Stunned, she asks if they always eat like this. Seo I-hyum explains that this is for a special occasion, her birthday. I-hee is completely speechless. He notes that it's just a coincidence it landed on her first day and encourages the emotionally drained girl to eat and stay strong. As she stares at the cake bearing her name, a wave of emotion hits her. This grand gesture is a stark contrast to her lonely birthdays in her previous life. A system alert suddenly flashes, noting her unusual emotional state. Just then, Do-gyum leans forward, his cool demeanor softening slightly as he notices a tear on her face and asks if she is crying. I-hee digs into the cake, completely blown away by the taste. It's nothing like the cheap convenience store snack she's used to. Seo Yeol watches in disbelief, asking if she's been starving. Do-gyum observes her quietly. While a system window claims he's unimpressed by her appetite, his expression is more thoughtful. The pleasant meal is suddenly cut short when Seo I-hyum makes a serious announcement. He looks directly at the two teens and declares that when Baek I-hee and Seo Do-gyum become adults, they will have an official engagement ceremony. The news hits I-hee like a ton of bricks. She whirls around to Do-gyum, asking if he knew. He calmly admits he's been aware for a while. Panicked, I-hee realizes this pushes the original heroine, Yoon-seol, out of the picture, potentially casting her as the villainess. She argues that adults can't decide their lives and that she cares about personality, not just looks. This sets off Seo Yeol, who slams the table, angrily defending his brother's character. Seo Yeol explodes, telling I-hee to reject the engagement and get out if she has a problem. The outburst is silenced by Seo I-hyum's stern voice. He reminds them of their place and demands proper manners at the table, causing Yeol to shrink under his gaze. I-hee notes that she was also yelling, but the younger brother is taking all the heat. Seeing the tension, I-hyum clarifies that the engagement is just an informal arrangement for now. Later, alone in her room, I-hee feels utterly exhausted by the day's events. Her initial plan was simple: survive, keep a low profile, and look for a way home. But as she recalls the kindness shown to her, the incredible feast, and the birthday cake, she has a change of heart. For the first time in her life, she felt truly special. Maybe she doesn't have to run away. Perhaps she can find a place for herself here after all. Later that night, a voice from outside her room startles I-hee. She's shocked to find Do-gyum waiting for her. He casually tells her not to worry about his brother's earlier outburst, brushing it off as typical behavior. Flustered by his sudden appearance, she asks why he's there. Do-gyum steps closer, making her heart pound as he announces they have plans after school tomorrow, just the two of them. The next day, he leads her into a luxury department store. While I-hee is excited, she sees this as a perfect opportunity. After Do-gyum hands her a black card with an unlimited budget, she internally launches Operation Get Disqualified as Fiancé. With a mischievous grin, she grabs the card and proceeds to buy out half the store, racking up an unbelievable bill of over 98 million won. She's confident this extravagant behavior will get her kicked out of the engagement for good. At the counter, the cashier's jaw drops at the 98 million won bill. Do-gyum, however, is completely unfazed, simply telling her to process the one-time payment. This sends I-hee into a full-blown panic. She had expected to spend a few hundred at most and frantically tries to cancel the purchase. Do-gyum calmly asks what happened to her earlier plan to buy out the store. Flustered, I-hee retorts that this amount is crossing the line. She then switches tracks, asking why he even came along. He gives a classic Sunder response, claiming he just had free time and didn't want the hassle of her getting lost. His unexpected thoughtfulness makes her blush. After thanking him for looking out for her, she goes to try on a dress. When she steps out, Do-gyum is left speechless. A system notification reveals his stomach has churned 17 times from seeing her. Confused by his reaction, she tells him to get sick already if he feels unwell. Instead, he quietly admits the dress suits her. I-hee happily decides to wear her new dress home. When she shyly asks if they can look at more clothes, Do-gyum coolly encourages her to try on as many as she likes. Another system notification pops up, showing his stomach has now churned a total of 19 times. Later, sitting in a luxury car surrounded by shopping bags, I-hee feels a genuine sense of belonging. She feels she has truly become the youngest daughter of the Seo family. Overwhelmed with happiness, she sincerely thanks Do-gyum. He looks away, muttering that it was his father's money, so she should thank him instead. He then clarifies that he was just taking care of a guest, as his father instructed. The word guest immediately shatters I-hee's happy mood. The warmth vanishes as she's reminded of her true position. Internally, she gives a bitter thanks to Do-gyum for drawing a clear line, just like a proper, distant male lead should. Upon returning to the mansion, I-hee and Do-gyum are greeted by his younger brother, Seo Yeol. He immediately scoffs at Ihee's new clothes but fawns over Dogyum, worried the shopping trip had exhausted him. The VIP treatment continues at a lavish family dinner, where Dogyum surprises Ihee by personally offering her a prime cut of steak. The feeling of belonging is intoxicating, but she knows it's temporary, reminding herself to plan a safe breakup when the time is right. This new life proves dangerously distracting. The next day, Ihee gets caught daydreaming in class about relaxing bubble baths, lost in the comfort of her new reality. Her fantasy is shattered by the teacher's sharp voice. Just then, another staff member mentions an upcoming school break. The word jolts Ihee with a terrifying realization. Lost in her bliss, she had completely forgotten about her true mission. She is on a strict timeline, and the clock is ticking down to save President Seo Ahyum. The casual mention of a school break sends a jolt of pure panic through Baek Ihee. A grim memory from the game floods her mind, the tragic scene of Seo Ahyum's final moments. She realizes with horror that this critical event is scheduled to happen right before the second-year summer break. Time is running out. Later, sitting in the car, Ihee's fear transforms into steely determination. She makes a silent promise to protect the president at all costs, thereby saving Seo Dogyum from his dark, predetermined future. Pulling out her phone, she begins to strategize. If she succeeds, Dogyum won't have to become a hardened mobster. For a fleeting second, she imagines a happy life with him, but a terrifying vision of the game's original heroine, Yoonseol, violently snaps her back to reality. The ghostly warning is clear. Shaken, Ihee pushes aside all romantic thoughts and focuses on her immediate goal. She opens a new note, typing out the most important question: who is the spy? As Ihee analyzes the situation on her phone, she recalls a key detail from the game. President Seo Ahyum was a successful businessman who was ultimately taken down by a spy within his inner circle. Before she can dig deeper, a system notification flashes across her screen, followed by Dogyum's voice. He had been reading over her shoulder. He questions the note on her phone, specifically the part about saving his father. Ihee freezes. He then asks what she wrote about a spy. Flustered, she yells at him for peeking, but he calmly asks what she's planning. Panicking, Ihee searches for an excuse and blurts out that she's simply interested in his father. When Dogyum presses her for details, she says it's because he's handsome and youthful. Seeing she can't talk her way out of it, Ihee decides to go for pure chaos. With a blush, she asks Dogyum if he'd be interested in her becoming his stepmother. The shocking statement causes the driver to swerve violently. After the sudden stop, Dogyum coldly advises her not to say things that cause misunderstandings, leaving Ihee to apologize for the mess she just created. After the awkward car ride, Ihee's focus returns to the mission. The spy, she realizes, has to be one of President Seo Ahyum's closest aides. Arriving home, she's still lost in thought when Ahyum himself approaches, asking what's on her mind so seriously. Seeing him, all Ihee can think about is the tragic future he's completely unaware of. When he asks if something happened, she can't hold it in any longer and blurts out a warning to watch out for spies. She instantly regrets it, expecting him to laugh it off. To her absolute shock, he simply tells her he'll keep it in mind and instructs her to get ready for dinner. As he walks away, Ihee is stunned, wondering if he actually believed her. Alone in her room, her confusion turns into a sudden scream of agony. Her vision is overwhelmed by a bright, glitching system window, flickering more intensely than ever before. Her actions were clearly having a major effect on the game world. As the system overload subsides, a clear message appears before Ihee: a new quest. Her mission is to ensure Seo Ahyum survives. The reward is increased likability with the Seo family, but the penalty for failure is a direct path to a bad ending. This was her goal anyway, but seeing the high stakes laid out is still unnerving. Just then, an additional reward pops up, an unlimited allowance from Ahyum himself. This is the kind of motivation she can get behind. Ihee feels a surge of confidence, believing that completing this single quest will solve everything. However, a strange, unsettling feeling washes over her. She senses someone is watching. She calls out into her empty room, demanding to know if anyone is there, but only silence answers. Annoyed by the system's continued silence and what feels like taunting with more rewards, her resolve hardens. She interprets it as the game doubting her. Miles away, Ahyum scratches an itchy ear, completely oblivious. Back in her room, Ai-hee clenches her fists with renewed fire, declaring that she will definitely save him. The next morning, the Seo family enjoys a quiet breakfast. Seo Ai-hyum sips his tea, while Yeol happily chats about the nice weather. Do-gyum quietly drinks his coffee, briefly wondering if Ai-hee is still sleeping after hearing her mutter loudly in her room the night before. Just as he dismisses the thought, the peaceful scene shatters. Ai-hee storms into the room, brandishing a large, red toy hammer, and swings it directly at Ai-hyum's head. With reflexes he didn't know he had, the president leans back, dodging the strike just in time. A shocked Seo Yeol screams, asking if she's lost her mind. Ai-hee, surprised he dodged, recovers with a bright smile. She cheerfully praises Ai-hyum's new agility, explaining it's all for his own sake. She gives him a quick peck on the cheek, whispering that he should see it as an investment for the future. As she leaves, Yeol frantically questions his father for letting her go, insisting she hasn't been right for days. But Ai-hee's bizarre training plan had only just begun. Ai-hee's unconventional training plan continued in full force. One day, she nonchalantly trips Seo Ai-hyum as he walks by. The president stumbles, but manages to catch his balance, turning to her with a look of pure disbelief. Ai-hee, however, is thrilled, giving him 2 enthusiastic thumbs up and praising his new agility. Her methods grow even more bizarre. She rigs a teddy bear holding a small knife to fall from a doorway, leaving Ai-hyum completely bewildered. Another time, she hides under a table just to give him a sudden scare. Seo Yeol, at his wit's end, complains to his older brother. He insists that Ai-hee is running wild and needs to be stopped. But Do-gyum remains perfectly calm, sipping his drink. He explains that Ai-hee considers it training to build reflexes, telling Yeol to just let her be. In his view, she'll eventually tire herself out and stop. Yeol is left speechless, baffled by his brother's casual acceptance of the chaos. While looking for Seo Ai-hyum to continue his training, Ai-hee is abruptly stopped by Do-gyum. He confronts her, asking if she has lost her mind and demanding that she stop her strange behavior. He warns that if she keeps it up, she's the one who will get hurt. Unfazed, Ai-hee refuses and tries to explain her urgency, ranting about the sad fate of a side character who only exists to be sacrificed for the protagonist's development. Confused by her bizarre speech, Do-gyum dismisses it entirely. She then insists that he, the eldest son, should train with her instead. Do-gyum flatly rejects her offer. He tells her to stop doing pointless things and cut back on whatever delusional novels she's been reading, then turns to leave. As a frustrated Ai-hee watches him go, Seo Yeol appears. He timidly asks his brother if it's possible that their father is actually in danger, proving Ai-hee's warnings are finally starting to have an effect. Do-gyum calmly tells his brother that nothing bad will happen, but Yeol isn't so sure. He argues that it's just plain weird for their father to let Ai-hee run around making wild claims about danger. Now fully invested, Yeol asks his older brother to keep a close eye on Ai-hee, just in case. After a quiet moment, Do-gyum agrees. Elsewhere, in President Ai-hyum's office, the head of security, Mr. Oh, gives his report. He confirms their investigation has found no signs of an internal spy. Annoyed by the lack of results, Ai-hyum dismisses him. But Mr. Oh oversteps, asking how much Ai-hyum really trusts Baek Ai-hee. He argues that as Do-gyum's fiancée, she's a potential risk who needs to be investigated. Ai-hyum cuts him off sharply, declaring that he personally vouches for her and doesn't need his suspicions. Defeated, Mr. Oh leaves, walking right past the actual spy, Team Leader Chai, waiting outside the door. Just as Mr. Oh leaves the president's office, the real spy, Team Leader Chai Iryong, steps inside. She greets Seo Ai-hyum with a bright smile, explaining she returned early from her assignment abroad. Chai immediately brings up Baek Ai-hee, commenting on the lovely young lady who has joined the family. Feigning concern, she questions whether Ai-hee is an appropriate match for Do-gyum. Ai-hyum cuts her off, coldly stating that her suitability is not for Chai to judge. He then softens, explaining that Ai-hee recently lost her family and is now alone. He admits that her situation reminds him of Chai when she was young, which is why he feels so protective. Playing her part perfectly, Chai expresses sympathy and understanding. She gets permission to go and greet Ai-hee, but the moment the office door closes behind her, the friendly mask vanishes. Her expression twists into a look of cold, calculated resentment, her true intentions hidden just beneath the surface. A new quest pops up for Ai-hee, her most important one yet: protect Seo I-hyum. She rushes out to the gardens to find him, knowing it's time for his evening walk. But he's nowhere in sight. As dusk settles, she worries that he might be actively avoiding her because of her odd behavior. Peeking around a stone pillar, a large shadow suddenly falls over her. A stern voice demands to know what she's doing there. Ai-hee screams, but the imposing figure is just the head of security, Mr. O. She nervously explains she was only trying to help train I-hyum's agility, but her excuse falls flat. Mr. O corners her against the wall, his expression serious. He tells her directly that if anyone is harmful to the family, he is the one who deals with them. The warning is unmistakable. He walks away, leaving a shaken Ai-hee to realize just how terrifying the family's security chief can be. She was just threatened and knows he means business. Still reeling from Mr. O's threat, Ai-hee continues her urgent search for Seo I-hyum. Realizing he's not in the garden, a single possibility remains: his private study. It's a restricted area, but she sees a light on and knows she has no other choice. She rushes to the door but is immediately stopped by two imposing guards. Ai-hee frantically tries to explain her urgency, begging them to let her pass for just a moment. They stand firm, completely appalled by her attempt to breach the president's private space. Just as her pleas become more desperate, a sharp voice cuts through the tension, ordering the men to release her. The guards step back and bow. Before them stands the purple-haired team leader, Chai Iriam. Ai-hee is stunned. She doesn't recognize this beautiful woman from the game at all. With a calm smile, Chai dismisses the guards, stating that she and Ai-hee need to speak alone. Faced with a stunning purple-haired woman, Ai-hee gets flustered and blurts out that she's pretty. She quickly tries to cover her tracks, making up a silly excuse about wanting to ask Seo I-hyum what's for breakfast. The woman finds this charmingly cute. With a disarming smile, she introduces herself as team leader Chai Iriam, who serves the president directly. Chai is incredibly smooth, suggesting they'll be seeing each other often and offering to walk Ai-hee back to her room. Completely taken in by this friendly demeanor, Ai-hee is thrilled, believing she's just found a powerful new ally in the mansion. She has no idea this is the very person plotting to bring the entire family down. The following day at school, Ai-hee is still lost in thought and gets a warning from her teacher to be more careful. Staring out the window at her bodyguards, she's reminded that time is running out. The pressure to protect Seo I-hyum is mounting, and she's starting to doubt if she can actually pull it off. At school, Ai-hee's mind drifts. Staring out the window at her bodyguards, Mr. O's threat echoes in her thoughts. She realizes they're not there to protect her. They're there to watch her. Frustrated by the silent game system, she demands an update on her mission, throwing a few soft punches into the air. Suddenly, a notification appears. Seo Dogium is observing her. She spins around to find him leaning in the hallway, looking unimpressed. He dryly comments that she's really something else. Ai-hee snaps back, reminding him this is all to protect his father. Annoyed by the subject, Dogium turns to leave, telling her to just stay quiet. But Ai-hee isn't done. She lunges forward and grabs his hand, stopping him. She has to ask, what is Mr. O's relationship with his family? She reasons that if she can get the loyal security head on her side, protecting his uncle will be much easier. Dogium explains that Mr. O came to them during their hardest time. He's known him since childhood, and his father treasures him deeply. With Dogium's words confirming Mr. O's deep loyalty, Ai-hee's mind raced toward a terrifying conclusion. The more trusted someone was, the easier it was for them to hide. Her prime suspect was now the very man she thought she needed as an ally. Gripping Dogium's hand, she pleaded with him to listen, warning him that what she had to say would sound like nonsense. She confessed she was on guard against a spy targeting his father, admitting she had no evidence, only her intuition. With all the sincerity she could muster, she asked him to believe her, just once, if she ever came to him with something important. Dogium glanced down at their hands and told her to let go. But then, looking her in the eyes, he gave an unexpected answer. He said that even though he didn't believe in gut feelings, he would try believing her this time. Ai-hee was overcome with emotion. Just as she was celebrating, he repeated, telling her to let go of his hand. She finally noticed the entire hallway was staring at them. A system notification popped up, announcing her popularity was rising, but Ai-hee was too mortified to care. The next morning, Ai-hee is still reeling from her public display with Dogyum. Hoping to avoid any awkwardness, she decides to sneak out to school by herself. She reasons that if she just lays low for a few days, the gossip about her grabbing the male lead's hand will surely die down. As she makes her way through the quiet mansion, a strange feeling settles over her. It's too silent. The staff members who always greeted her are nowhere to be found. A sense of unease creeps in as she stands at the bottom of the grand staircase, realizing something is definitely off. Suddenly, her vision is flooded with bright red static. A terrifying system notification flashes before her eyes, blaring with urgent warnings about a hazardous area. Before she can process the alert, a new message appears, chilling her to the bone. The system announces that the death countdown for the supporting character, Baek Ai-hee, has just begun. Overwhelmed by the blaring red alerts, Ai-hee clutches her head in a panic. The system's message is clear. She is going to die. The thought that she might fail before she even gets a chance to save Seo I-hyum sends her spiraling. Her only instinct is to run, to get out of the mansion immediately. As she sprints towards the door, a hand suddenly grabs her shoulder from behind, stopping her cold. In that terrifying moment, she understands. The spy's target has switched from the president to her. The sheer terror is too much, and she collapses to the floor with a scream. Just as her hope fades, a calm voice calls her name. Seo Dogyum is there, kneeling in front of her with a concerned look, asking if she's okay. The moment he appears, the red warnings vanish, and the system declares her safety secured. Unable to explain the invisible threat she just escaped, Ai-hee can only grab onto him and begin to sob, releasing all her pent-up fear. After her terrifying ordeal, Baek Ai-hee clings to Seo Dogyum, overwhelmed with relief that he appeared. He waits for her to calm down, then quietly tells her to lift her head when she's done. Pulling herself together, Ai-hee thanks him, but he immediately wants to know what scared her so much. Unable to explain the death countdown, she quickly fabricates a story. She claims she's just not feeling well, that her nerves are a bit frayed. Dogyum suggests she stay home from school, but the thought of being alone terrifies her. Ai-hee insists she can go, proposing they go together. Seeing her determination, Dogyum agrees and offers his hand. As they walk, his younger brother Seo Yeol spots them, shocked to see them acting so close. Noticing Ai-hee is still hesitant, Dogyum pulls her nearer, telling her to lean on him for support. Yeol loudly questions if his brother has fallen for some kind of trick. Unfazed, Dogyum simply replies that Ai-hee said she was sick, and that's all that matters. As they head to school, Seo Yeol complains about Ai-hee's slow pace, insisting she should stay home if she's truly unwell before running off ahead. Dogyum ignores his brother's tantrum and asks Ai-hee how she's feeling. She claims she's just a bit dizzy, but he sees right through it, noting how genuinely terrified she looked back at the mansion.
He knows she's hiding something.
Ai-hee deflects his questions, simply asking him to stay with her until they reach the school gate. He agrees, telling her she can talk to him whenever she's ready. Clinging to his arm, Ai-hee feels a strange sense of safety she can't quite explain. This fragile peace is shattered later during gym class. Ai-hee spends the day on edge, paranoid about the system's threats. Suddenly, a volleyball comes flying straight for her head. Her classmates yell for her to move, but she's frozen in place, utterly helpless. Certain this is the end, she braces for the impact. Just as the volleyball is about to connect with her face, a figure suddenly appears, blocking the shot. It's Seo Dogyum. He pulls her close, sternly asking why she's being so careless and telling her to go home if she can't focus. Later, Ai-hee sits in her room, realizing she's only alive because of him. She connects the dots. The life-threatening system warnings only appear inside the mansion, never at school. With her head pounding, she decides her top priority is survival, which means sticking to Dogyum like glue. A soft knock comes from her door. Wondering if it's Dogyum, she opens it to find team leader Chai Iryang. Chai smiles politely, explaining that Seo I-hyum sent her over to ask a favor. Relieved, Ai-hee happily invites her in. But as Chai steps into the room with a subtle, chilling smirk, a terrifying red alert floods Ai-hee's vision. The system declares she has 10 seconds to escape, or her life as a character will be permanently deleted. As team leader Chai steps into the room, a chilling red alert floods Ai-hee's vision. The system warns her that if she doesn't escape in 10 seconds, her character will be permanently deleted. the countdown begins. With a subtle smirk, Chai says she's finally found her. The horrifying truth clicks into place. Team leader Chai is the spy. Frozen in terror, Ai-hee can only watch as Chai politely excuses herself. The timer ticks down relentlessly. Ai-hee finally breaks, letting out a terrified scream as she stumbles backward. A new notification appears, stating that Co Do-gyum has heard her scream and senses a crisis. Down the hall, he notices the commotion and rushes out, calling her name. Just as the countdown hits 1, Do-gyum bursts into the doorway and yanks Ai-hee out of the room into a protective embrace. The system alert immediately vanishes. Holding her steady, he tells the trembling girl to lift her head. Across from them, team leader Chai stands with a calm smile, greeting him as the first young master. Team leader Chai approaches, politely feigning concern. She asks Do-gyum if something happened, noting Baek Ai-hee seems unwell and she came running after hearing a scream. Still clinging to Do-gyum, Ai-hee internally panics. She wants to expose Chai as the spy right then and there, but fears it will only provoke the woman and make her own situation worse. Seeing Do-gyum in control, Chai gives a disarming smile, saying she feels safe now that he's here. She then gracefully excuses herself and walks away. Once they are alone, Ai-hee grips his shirt tighter. She quietly confesses the shocking truth. Team leader Chai is the spy. Do-gyum realizes this is why she was so afraid earlier. Ai-hee knows how insane she sounds, a freeloader accusing a trusted employee. Still, she looks him in the eye and sincerely asks him to believe her, just this once. After a long, tense moment, Do-gyum gives a simple, unwavering answer. Okay, I'll believe you. With Do-gyum's trust secured, Ai-hee's resolve hardens, certain that team leader Chai is the spy, and believing Do-gyum is the key to stopping her. The scene then cuts to Chai Iryong, driving alone through the city at night, her face a mask of cold determination. A flashback reveals the source of her deep-seated grudge. Years ago, as a young girl mourning at her parents' funeral, she refused to believe their end was a mere accident. Just then, a mysterious man approached her. Sensing her suspicion, he offered to tell her the truth she was so desperate to hear. He claimed to know the person responsible for her parents' fate. Leaning in, he whispered a single name into her ear. Seo Ai-hyum. This calculated lie planted a seed of vengeance in the grieving girl's heart. It twisted her sorrow into a singular, all-consuming goal. In the present, Che's expression shows that this desire for revenge has driven her every action since that day. Elsewhere, the wheels of a dangerous plan were already in motion. Driving through the city, team leader Chai took a call, her face cold and determined. She confirmed to the person on the other end that she was on her way to see them now. Back at the CO residence, an uneasy quiet had settled in. Do-gyum's younger brother, Yeol, finally returned home from a long teacher consultation, surprised to find Ai-hee and Do-gyum waiting by the stairs. He quickly asked where his father was. Do-gyum tried to reassure a worried Ai-hee, stating that their father was always well protected. Just then, Mr. Oh, the head of security, walked in. Ai-hee rushed to him, frantically asking why President Seo wasn't with him. Mr. Oh delivered the worst possible news. The president had stayed behind at the office for an urgent, private discussion. A wave of pure dread washed over Ai-hee when he revealed who her uncle was meeting with, team leader Chai. The president was alone with the one person she knew wanted him gone. Ai-hee's mind races. She insists that team leader Chai had a different schedule for the day, but Mr. Oh explains it was an urgent, unscheduled meeting. A confused Seo Yeol asks why a simple meeting is causing such a fuss, but Do-gyum is already in motion. Telling his brother to stay and eat, he orders his men to head to the company immediately. He then grabs Ai-hee's hand, intending to leave her behind for her safety, but she refuses, declaring she can't just wait around quietly. As they make a break for the door, Mr. Oh blocks their path. He demands to know why he should trust her baseless accusations. Ai-hee freezes, unable to give a logical answer. Just then, Do-gyum steps in front of her, facing down the security chief. With complete certainty, he states, "I believe her." The simple declaration silences all objections. Still holding her hand, Do-gyum pulls her forward, determined to get to his father before it's too late. As the convoy of black cars speeds through the city night, Ai-hee tries to reassure herself. The game system hasn't sent a notification, which means President Seo is still safe for now. Suddenly, a new alert pops up. Dogium is observing her suspicious behavior. He quietly asks if she's worried. Unable to hide her anxiety, he tells her to calm down, reminding her that his father is a strong man. His reassurance doesn't quite work. In the car behind them, Seo Yeol is having a full-blown panic attack, completely convinced that his father is in mortal danger. Dogium looks back, surprised to see his brother so genuinely afraid. While their driver promises nothing will happen, Aihee's expression hardens. They have to make sure of that. Meanwhile, at the company headquarters, President Seo faces team leader Chai alone. He calmly asks her to get to the point. With a cold look, she clenches her fist, dropping all pretenses. The time for games is over. She confronts him directly, demanding to know why he did it. In his high-rise office, President Seo Aihyum is stunned when team leader Chai drops all pretenses, demanding to know why he was involved in her parents' end. Completely baffled, the president asks her to explain, but she scoffs at his confusion. Her mind flashes back to the snowy day she arrived as an orphan, claiming her parents had been sacrificed by a rival group and begging him to take her in. Convinced he had been mocking her as a clueless child all these years, her rage finally boils over. She declares his act is over. In one swift motion, she produces a sharp blade, her intentions clear. She moves on the president, screaming her accusation again, seeking an answer for what happened to her family. Meanwhile, a convoy of black cars screeches to a halt at the building's entrance. Aihee and Dogium rush toward the door, only to be stopped by a security guard. He insists the area is off-limits, but Dogium's men declare it's an urgent family matter. Unfazed, Dogium simply flashes his employee ID, commanding the guard to step aside. Once past security, Dogium immediately takes command in the lobby. He quickly deduces his father is likely in one of 3 key locations. To maintain the element of surprise against a potentially fleeing target, he decides a small team will go first, with the rest deploying after a delay. With the plan set, the men move out, racing up the stairs. Aihee keeps pace with Dogium, who can't help but be surprised by her stamina. As she pauses to catch her breath, thankful they're only on the 3rd floor, Dogium suddenly pulls her against the wall, sensing danger just ahead. Through the door, the grim scene unfolds. President Seo Aihyum is already on the ground, locked in a struggle with team leader Chai. He's been injured, but he's managed to grab the blade she holds. Ignoring his wounded hand, he firmly tells her to let go. With the blade between them, President Seo Aihyum questions team leader Chai's conviction. After more than a decade of trust, he can't believe she's so convinced of his guilt. But Chai's mind is made up, her accusations firm. Realizing words won't work, Aihyum stops fighting. He calmly challenges her to finish what she started if she truly believes he's the villain. His unexpected surrender makes her hesitate for just a moment. That's all the time Aihee needs. She barrels into the room and tackles the president, pushing him safely to the floor as Dogium yells for his father. As the dust settles, Aihee frantically checks for a system failure notice, but finds none. Instead, a brilliant blue window announces main quest clear, confirming Seo Aihyum's survival is 100% guaranteed. The president sits up, surprisingly okay, and thanks Aihee, noting that her training must have improved his reflexes. Another notification appears, rewarding Aihee with a massive affection boost as the man she just saved gives her a genuine smile. Her mission is a success. With the danger over, Aihee throws her arms around Seo Aihyum, just thankful he's alright. Dogium watches them from the doorway as his father calmly tells him to let the matter with team leader Cha go and to leave Aihee out of it. The tense moment is shattered when his younger brother, Seo Yeol, finally bursts in with a security team, shouting for his father in a panic. Seeing Aihyum is safe, Yeol rushes forward, joining the embrace and pulling Aihee into a messy group hug. Meanwhile, team leader Chai speeds away in her car, furious at her own failure. A call from an unknown contact, beat at Y, fails to connect. Elsewhere, in a high-rise office, a powerful man observes the failed call, noting that Chai attempted something she couldn't handle. His attention then shifts to a file on his desk. He picks it up, his expression unreadable as he stares down at a picture and a name. Baek Aihee. A new player has entered the game. In the tense quiet following the attack, security head Mr. Oh formally apologizes to Seo Aihyum. He confesses a shock that such a dangerous plot was unfolding right under his nose and declares himself unfit for the job, deeming immediate dismissal a fair punishment. Behind him, the entire security team bows deeply, shouting their apologies in unison. However, Ahyum calmly rejects the notion. Looking out the window, he states that the responsibility for this failure is ultimately his own. His mind briefly flashes back to team leader Che's final moments before she fled. He remembers her tear-streaked face as she declared her years of service had become poison, daring him to hunt her down if he wished. Returning to the present, Ahyum addresses his men with a final decision. He will not hold them responsible for what happened. However, he warns them that recklessly abandoning their posts out of shame would be an even greater mistake. With the immediate crisis over, CO Ahyum gets straight to business. He instructs Mr. O to conduct one-on-one interviews with every member of their organization to prevent any further internal division. A search for Chai Iryong is to begin at once, but his men are ordered not to engage, only to report her location directly to him. His final command is clear. The kids must have been terrified, so they need extra protection. He specifically names Dogyum, Yeol, and Baek Ahi. Later, Ahi and Dogyum are interrupted by a deeply bowing CO Yeol. He sincerely apologizes for suspecting her of being a spy. Ahi quickly tells him to raise his head, insisting he had every reason to be wary. She understands he was just trying to protect his father, meaning they were on the same side all along. Stunned by her kindness, Yeol asks if she really forgives him. Ahi gives him a bright smile, confirming that of course, she does. Watching the two make peace, Dogyum feels a quiet sense of relief. Flustered, CO Yeol offers Ahi a clumsy apology. He clarifies that he doesn't fully accept her yet, but feels he must thank her for what she did. Seeing her chance, Ahi teases him, claiming he must be incredibly grateful to his new Nuna. Yeol immediately protests, insisting he cried out of relief, not because he was moved. As they bicker, Dogyum watches with a quiet sense of peace. Later, Ahi collapses into her bed, filled with triumph. She did it. The quest was complete, and CO Ahyum was safe. She had successfully changed the game's tragic prologue. A thought then crosses her mind. Will she return to her old life? She realizes she feels a bit sad, having found a sense of belonging here that she never had before. Seeking answers, she summons the system window. It appears, but ignores her questions, instead providing new information. It reveals Chai was a spy for the Baekhyun faction, and that Ahi's identity is now known to them. Surprisingly, Ahi isn't scared. With the main crisis averted, she feels the danger is minimal. Frustrated by the unhelpful system, she decides to just enjoy her hard-won peace and sleep. Just as Ahi was settling down for the night, a knock sounded at her door. It was CO Dogyum. Before she could process his late-night visit, he walked in, pulled back her covers, and got into her bed. Completely stunned, Ahi demanded to know what he was doing. Dogyum calmly replied that he was getting ready to sleep next to her, explaining it was his idea of close protection until morning. Furious and flustered, Ahi protested, reminding him that he was a man and she was a woman. Unfazed, Dogyum bluntly stated that if she tried anything, he'd subdue her instantly. With that, he told her to just go to sleep and turned off the light. Lying wide awake in the dark, Ahi fumed silently. The silence was broken when Dogyum suddenly asked how she knew about team leader Cha. He admitted that he had never suspected the spy for a moment, his mind flashing back to the day his father first brought a young Chai Iryong into their home. As Dogyum waited for her answer, his mind flashed back to the day his father first brought a young Chai Iryong home, telling him she was now part of the family. For years, she had been a precious and trusted figure. Brought back to the present, Ahi scrambled for an excuse. She nervously claimed she was just very sensitive and felt something was off with team leader Chai that morning. Unimpressed, Dogyum dryly suggested that with instincts like that, she should join his organization. Ahi immediately refused and turned the tables, asking why he was taking such good care of her. He replied coolly that she wasn't a normal guest, but a troublesome one who required a lot of attention. Although annoyed, Ahi couldn't argue with that. As she settled down, she reflected on this unexpectedly soft side of his. Lying in the dark, Dogyum found himself seriously considering her question. Why was he doing this for her? Lying in the dark, Baek Ahi is suddenly pulled into a terrifying nightmare. She finds herself trapped as a small child in a dark, suffocating space, desperately calling for someone to get her out. She jolts awake with a gasp, relieved it was only a dream. It's a memory she thought had faded long ago, likely stirred up by the day's stressful events. As she catches her breath, she reaches out, only to touch someone sleeping beside her. Her eyes widen in shock. It's Seo Do-gyum. She panics for a second before realizing she must have rolled over during her nightmare. Looking at his peaceful face, she can't help but think how harmless he seems. He's so unguarded, someone could probably carry him away without him even noticing. Getting out of bed, Ahi reflects that maybe things can finally be normal. With the tragedy averted, perhaps Do-gyum can live a peaceful life and get a happy ending. And, she concludes while looking at his sleeping form, that happy ending would most likely be with the original female lead, Yoon-seol. The next morning, news travels fast. At the breakfast table, Mr. Oh informs Seo I-hyum that Do-gyum and I-hee were found sleeping in the same room. While I-hyum remains surprisingly calm, noting their engagement makes it acceptable, his younger son Yeol is outraged. He loudly objects, arguing that it's far too soon to trust I-hee so completely. I-hyum calmly shuts him down, stating that only I-hee and Do-gyum's feelings matter in this situation. Feeling unheard and believing his father now prioritizes I-hee over him, a frustrated Yeol storms away from the table. Left alone, I-hyum privately muses that I-hee has been a lucky charm, bringing life back into their home. Following this, things begin to shift for the better. Security around the family tightens, and Do-gyum becomes openly protective of I-hee. As summer vacation ends, he doesn't hesitate to take her hand in public, making it clear to everyone that he now stands firmly by her side. During their summer study session, I-hee notices Do-gyum has matured. He no longer starts petty arguments, though he still keeps her at arm's length. She decides to be patient, now focused on a new mission, guiding him toward a future beyond the gangster world. As they work, the sound of cicadas drifts through the window. I-hee quietly admits she used to hate and fear summer. Intrigued, Do-gyum asks her to explain. Trusting him, she shares a painful memory from her real world. As a young child, she was taken and locked inside a narrow, suffocatingly hot closet. The terror of that moment was so intense, it's her only memory of childhood summer. She explains that, even now, being in small, dark places makes it hard for her to breathe. When she finishes her story, she finds Do-gyum staring at her, his face flushed and his expression deeply shaken. Her vulnerability has clearly hit him hard. Do-gyum is completely thrown by I-hee's traumatic story. Visibly unwell, he grabs onto her shirt and asks her to do something for him. Confused, I-hee recalls how he once helped her through a panic attack without asking any questions. Deciding to return the favor, she lets him rest his head on her lap to calm down. He seems to fall asleep, but then quietly asks if he should find the man who locked her up. I-hee explains that the man was caught long ago and isn't in their world anymore. Do-gyum grimly mutters that if it were up to him, the guy would have been dealt with much earlier. His raw, protective anger on her behalf makes I-hee realize she's truly opened her heart to him. Suddenly, the moment is shattered. Seo Yeol bursts into the room, furiously accusing I-hee of taking advantage of his brother while he was asleep. She calmly denies it, but Yeol isn't listening, convinced she's using tricks to get closer to Do-gyum. Pleased with how well Baek I-hee and his sons are getting along, Seo I-hyum decides a family trip is in order. He instructs Mr. Oh to prepare for a visit to the nearby sea, confident everyone will enjoy it. Later that evening, Seo Yeol finds I-hee in the kitchen, where she announces she's the master chef of rich ramen. His usual teasing stops when she casually mentions packing her bags for the sea trip. Furious that he was left out of the loop, Yeol confronts her. He accuses her of getting special treatment from his father and grabs her arm in frustration. As they argue, a large pot of boiling water begins to tip over, falling directly towards Yeol. In a split second, I-hee shoves him to the floor, shielding him with her own body. The scalding water spills across her back, and she crumples in pain. As a shocked Yeol calls her name, a red system window appears. It declares the successful completion of a hidden quest, preventing Seo Yeol's death. Do-gyum enters the room, planning to take I-hee clothes shopping at a department store he rented out just for her. But his offer is cut short by the sound of quiet sobbing. He discovers his younger brother, Seo Yeol, in tears. Panicked, Yeol confesses that he accidentally spilled boiling water, but Ahi moved without thinking and shielded him, taking the full impact across her back. Do-gyum's expression hardens instantly. He orders his brother to get someone while he prepares to take Ahi to the hospital. As the shock and pain set in, Ahi sways on her feet, but Do-gyum is there to catch her. Holding her steady, he quietly asks why she would do something so reckless for Yeol. She admits her body just moved on its own because he's family. Noticing her biting her lip to withstand the pain, Do-gyum's voice softens. He gently tells her that if the pain is too much, she should bite his finger instead of hurting herself. Ahi is completely flustered by Do-gyum's offer. Internally, she calls him crazy, thinking he's treating her like a child with his ridiculously caring attitude. Just then, Mr. Oh and another guard burst into the room, announcing they will escort her to the hospital using the president's car. As they move to help, Do-gyum gently steadies her, quietly praising her for holding on through the pain. This unexpected tenderness catches Ahi off guard, and she worries that she could easily get used to this feeling if he keeps it up. Meanwhile, a guilt-ridden Seo Yeol is approached by Mr. Oh. The younger brother insists that Mr. Oh should go help Ahi, but the butler informs him she is already with the president. He explains his orders were to stay and comfort Yeol instead. Overwhelmed by this, Yeol sinks to the floor, questioning why Ahi would shield him. He confesses he was only taking out his frustrations on her because he was scared she was becoming part of the family. While Ahi is rushed to safety, a devastated Seo Yeol breaks down in tears. He confesses to Mr. Oh that he can't understand why she would protect him after he was so cruel to her. Overwhelmed with guilt, he admits he only acted out because he was scared of her truly becoming part of their family. Sometime later, Ahi awakens in a luxurious private hospital room. The pain in her back is gone, but she feels a strange weight on her hand. Turning her head, she is shocked to find Seo Do-gyum asleep in a chair beside her, tightly holding it. He wakes up as she stirs, explaining that her emergency treatment is finished. He apologizes, admitting there might be a small scar left. Ahi tries to brush it off, but confesses she's worried a future partner might find it unattractive. Do-gyum's expression immediately hardens. Gripping her hand, he forbids her from ever dating someone who would think that, declaring he would oppose it anyway. His sudden possessiveness leaves her utterly speechless. Flustered by his possessiveness, Ahi asks if she seriously needs his permission to date someone. Do-gyum calmly confirms that she does. She laughs it off as ridiculous, but a system window suddenly appears, stating that he is satisfied with her reaction. Behind it, she spots another notification. Pretending to stretch a stiff arm, Ahi quickly swipes to reveal the hidden message. It's a jaw-dropping alert. Baby gangster Seo Do-gyum's stomach is churning. Accumulated 717 times. She recalls seeing this before and realizes this strange feeling occurs every time he looks at her. It doesn't seem hostile, but it's definitely confusing. Do-gyum interrupts her thoughts, telling her to stay and rest. When she eagerly asks about their trip to the beach, he dismisses it. He gently pinches her mouth shut, ordering her to behave. Just as she's about to protest, a knock sounds at the door. It's Seo Ahyum, and Ahi's face lights up as she tells him to come in. Seo Ahyum enters the hospital room, telling Ahi he was shocked by the news. She offers a weak apology, but he gently pats her head, insisting he should be the one to apologize. He reassures her they've hired the best medical team to prevent any scars. Genuinely touched, Ahi smiles, admitting she's just grateful to be treated like an honorary family member. As Do-gyum watches, his expression darkens. Without a word, he suddenly grabs Ahi, pulling her back into his arms and firmly wrapping an arm around her. When his father asks what he's doing, Do-gyum coldly states, "Think of it as a leash." Ahi freezes in horror as system windows appear, warning her that Do-gyum's guilt has unlocked a dangerous status abnormality, turning his feelings into possessiveness and obsession. Surprisingly, Ahyum only laughs, interpreting the act as a promise to protect her. But Ahi sees the truth in Do-gyum's menacing smile as he tightens his grip. She mentally screams for help. Seo Ahyum misinterprets the entire situation, simply seeing Do-gyum's possessiveness as a promise to protect the girl who saved his family. Ahi, however, is panicking. She pushes against his chest, telling him to back off and that his leash comment is ridiculous. To escape the tense moment, She quickly turns to Hyum with a bright smile, telling him she feels tired and needs to rest. Her guardian understands and agrees to leave, giving her some space. A few days later, Ahi is completely relaxed, enjoying a peaceful recovery in her hospital room. Surrounded by delicious snacks, she thinks that this blissful life, where everything is provided for her, is the absolute best. As she rests, her thoughts turn serious. She realizes she has gotten used to being taken care of, something she never experienced in her old life. Looking back on the recent events, she admits to herself that these game characters, Hyum, Yeol, and Dogyum, are starting to feel like her real family. Lying in her hospital bed, Ahi tells herself not to get too comfortable with her new life. Her thoughts are cut short when Dogyum appears, surprising her. Holding up a bag of food, he tells her they're going to eat outside. They find a quiet spot in a park, and as Ahi digs into the meal, she offers Dogyum a bite. He politely declines, saying he's not a fan of spicy food. He then brings up his younger brother, explaining that Yeol feels terrible about how he acted. Ahi admits she was a bit sad he hadn't visited, but says she understands. Meanwhile, a nervous Yeol stands outside Ahi's empty room, holding a famous cake. Feeling too ashamed to face her, he decides to just leave the gift. But as he sets the box down, he's startled by Ahi herself, who has just returned. Before the awkwardness can settle in, she spots the cake, her eyes lighting up as she excitedly asks if he bought it for her. Ahi beams, telling Yeol she's surprised he came to visit. Flustered, he insists he was just passing by, but she cuts through his excuses, saying she's genuinely glad he's there. His guilt triggers a flashback to a conversation with Mr. O. The security chief had explained to Yeol that people act on emotion when protecting someone they care about. He reminded the boy that Ahi, having lost her own family, deeply values her connection to them. He admitted he was wary at first, but is now grateful for her. He then relayed a touching message from their father, a promise to take them all to the beach next year. Back in the hospital room, overwhelmed by emotion, Yeol drops to his knees. Through tears, he apologizes for the scar she got because of him. Ahi quickly kneels to comfort him, reassuring him that the treatment worked well and the scar is faint. She gently lifts his chin, moved by his sincere apology. Through his tears, Yeol thanks Ahi for caring about him. She calmly tells him it was the obvious thing to do and pulls the young man into a reassuring hug. As she does, a system window pops up, announcing a hidden quest complete. By shielding him, Ahi has maxed out Yeol's favorability and turned him into her strongest ally. The notification also reveals that her actions prevented his death, a detail that shocks her. Later, feeling content, Ahi enjoys some fresh air on the hospital rooftop. She sends a quick selfie to Dogyum, who immediately bombards her with worried texts, demanding to know why she's somewhere dangerous. Even as she gets a cute message from Yeol, her thoughts turn serious. She worries about future quests and the dangers they might bring. These thoughts are interrupted when Seo Hyum approaches. He kindly picks up a flower hair tie she dropped, returning it to her with a warm smile. On the hospital rooftop, Ahi is approached by another patient, a friendly man with glasses. He introduces himself as Kim Chong-soo and invites her to talk, having seen her earlier. Ahi agrees, introducing herself in return. She internally dismisses him as a total extrovert, the perfect extra character. Chong-soo apologizes for being so forward, explaining that he doesn't get any visitors and was just excited to see someone his age. Ahi softens, understanding his loneliness. Their conversation is cut short when a guard calls for her from the bushes. She quickly apologizes to Chong-soo, promising they can chat again soon since she'll be around for a while. He smiles and waves goodbye. The moment Ahi is gone, however, his friendly demeanor vanishes completely. He slowly removes his glasses, his expression turning cold and serious. Running a hand through his hair, he stares in the direction she left, ominously stating that he will be waiting for her. This was clearly no random encounter. Elsewhere, Kim Chong-soo sits on a hospital staircase, deep in a phone call. The person on the other end asks if he met Baek Ahi. Chong-soo confirms he did, remarking that she was cuter than expected, but questions the need to put on an act for a mere kid. His contact bluntly tells him to quit if he has a problem. Their conversation reveals a larger plan. Their boss wants to forge an interesting connection with Seo Hyum's faction. While looking at Ahi's file, Chong-soo decides they need to find a weakness to exploit and orders his contact to prepare the next stage. The caller is revealed to be team leader Chai. She gives him a severe warning. If he so much as harms Ai-hee, there will be a heavy price to pay. Chang-soo just laughs, finding the danger exciting. Annoyed, Chai hangs up. Far away and unaware of this new plot, Ai-hee relaxes in a garden, sighing as she looks at a tarot card, pondering her future. The previous evening, Ai-hee had sat down with her new acquaintance, Kim Chang-soo. She pulled out a deck of tarot cards, explaining her brother had bought them for her and suggesting they try a reading together. While Chang-soo figured out the rules, Ai-hee's mind drifted. She felt uneasy, realizing that saving the president wasn't the final quest. Do-gyum's recent protectiveness also felt more permanent than she first thought, adding to her uncertainty. Once ready, she drew a card, the wolves. Chang-soo read its cryptic meaning aloud. Powerful beings were pulling her in, and whether their embrace was warm or cold depended entirely on her. The prediction was unnervingly accurate, reminding her of the Seo family. Back in the present, a voice suddenly asks what's so accurate. Ai-hee is startled to find Seo Yeol right behind her. He scolds her for wandering around so much, but she just laughs, playfully ruffling his hair and teasing him for being worried. Just as Ai-hee teases Yeol, Do-gyum suddenly appears, swiftly putting his younger brother into a headlock. He coolly asks why Yeol is treating her so casually. Flustered, Ai-hee explains they were just messing around, but she recognizes the intense, possessive look returning to Do-gyum's eyes. Brushing off her excuse, he simply tells her to get ready for her discharge tomorrow. Later, he lays out the plan. An organization member will escort her from the hospital directly to the company office. Confused, Ai-hee asks why she has to go. Do-gyum instructs her to wait for him and Yeol there so they can all go home together. She insists she's fine alone, but he leans in close, lifting her chin. He reminds her that from now on he's putting a leash on her. Instantly, a system window flashes, warning of Do-gyum's rising obsession level. That night, Ai-hee thinks about finally leaving, resolving to say goodbye to Chang-soo before she goes. As Ai-hee slept, her rest was anything but peaceful. A blaring system window shattered the quiet, issuing an emergency main quest. The mission was clear: unmask her new friend, Kim Chang-soo, and figure out his true identity before morning. Success would grant her President Ai-hyun's complete trust. Failure, however, meant entering hard mode, a setting the system warned was directly linked to her demise. Before she could fully process it, the notification vanished. The next morning, Ai-hee woke up with her bags packed, ready for her discharge. As she got dressed, she noticed a peculiar mark on her back resembling angel wings, deciding to just call it a tattoo if anyone asked. A knock at the door announced her escort's arrival. She opened it to find a stern-looking man she'd never seen before. After he entered to get her luggage, Ai-hee saw her chance. She asked if she could quickly go meet someone, suggesting the new escort might even know him. She then revealed the name, Kim Chang-soo. A figure in a doctor's coat strikes Ai-hee from behind. Before she can hit the floor, the man she asked to meet, Kim Chang-soo, catches her. He remarks that he hadn't intended to be so rough, then calmly tells her she'll be asleep soon. As Ai-hee's strength leaves her, the doctor pulls down her mask, revealing the familiar face of team leader Chai Iryong. Chai casually explains that the drugged vitamins she'd given Ai-hee earlier were working too slowly, forcing her to be more direct. She adds that she's already taken care of Do-gyum's guards and filed Ai-hee's discharge papers, buying them plenty of time. With President Ai-hyun stuck in a meeting, no one will realize she's been taken. As her vision blurs, Chang-soo removes his sunglasses, telling her to sleep well. His final words echo in her mind. They're going somewhere far away together. The emergency quest to unmask him was a trap all along. Ai-hee surfaces from a terrible dream where she was trapped and alone in a dark room. Just as despair took hold, a door opened to reveal Seo Do-gyum, a beacon of hope. But the rescue wasn't real. She jolts awake in the back of a moving car, her head resting on a stranger's shoulder. The man notes she was sleeping so peacefully he didn't want to disturb her. Her eyes dart around the car, landing on the familiar purple hair of team leader Chai. The reality of her abduction crashes down on her. Fueled by panic, Ai-hee lunges for the door handle, but Chai quickly grabs her arm, asking where she thinks she's going. The strange man beside her just laughs, asking if she's already forgotten him. He puts on a pair of glasses, and Ai-hee's eyes widen in recognition. It's Kim Chang-soo. Before she can react, Chai sighs and asks her boss if he's done with his childish roleplay. The word boss stuns Ai-hee, and a system window confirms the horrifying truth. She's been captured by the leader of the Baekhyun faction. With the truth revealed, Chang-soo smugly says, "Bingo." The confirmation sends Ai-hee into a full-blown panic. She erupts, kicking and screaming in the back of the car while demanding her captors let her go. She questions what they could possibly gain by kidnapping her now, after all she has endured. Chang-soo calmly advises her to be careful with the expensive seats, but Ai-hee is far beyond caring. Team leader Chai seems unimpressed by the outburst, commenting that she expected Ai-hee to be crying by now. Ai-hee fires back that tears are useless, especially since Chai had already made an attempt on her life. Fueled by defiance, Ai-hee declares her absolute trust in Seo I-hyum and vows to tell him everything. Her unwavering faith gives Chai pause. Later, the purple-haired traitor stares at a computer screen, reviewing an old news article. It reveals a startling fact. On the day her parents died, Seo I-hyum had an unbreakable alibi. He was publicly attending a global business conference, meaning Che's entire quest for revenge was built on a lie. Elsewhere, team leader Chai collapses in despair, her face buried in her hands as the foundation of her entire life's mission crumbles. Meanwhile, Ai-hee sits captive in a car speeding along the coast. She looks out at the ocean with a heavy heart, remembering a promise to visit the beach that now feels like a distant memory. Her captor, Chang-soo, casually hands her a ringing phone. It's Seo I-hyum. Chang-soo taunts her, saying she can tell him anything she wants, even that she's been kidnapped. Knowing that ignoring the call will only cause more panic, Ai-hee shakily accepts. I-hyum immediately asks if she's okay. Fighting back tears, she quickly names her captors. From the other end, I-hyum reassures her that it isn't her fault, revealing they are already tracking her location and following close behind. Overcome with emotion, Ai-hee tells him she's at the beach they were supposed to visit together. He promises they will definitely go next year. Just then, Do-gyum's voice comes on the line, asking to speak with her. Do-gyum's voice, low and serious, came through the phone. He told Ai-hee to just wait until he got his hands on her, promising to sweep her up and rescue her right away. He then added a dark warning. After that, it wouldn't matter if she begged him to let her go. His intense words were completely misinterpreted. Believing he meant to harm her himself, Ai-hee erupted in panic, thrashing in the back seat and screaming for him to stay away. Her captors were stunned by the sudden outburst, demanding she calm down. Meanwhile, in the pursuing car, the atmosphere was heavy. Do-gyum remembered past tragedies, declaring he would never lose someone precious again for such a reason. His brother Yeol and Mr. Oh agreed. With chilling resolve, Do-gyum made a final promise. If the kidnappers harmed Ai-hee in any way, he would personally bury them all. The captor's car finally stopped at a desolate shipping port. Ai-hee was roughly shoved into a dark, metal container. As the heavy doors boomed shut, team leader Chai offered a cold apology, telling her to wait inside. Locked in the pitch-black container, Ai-hee's worst fear becomes reality. She hammers on the heavy steel door, shouting that she has claustrophobia and can't be left inside. But her pleas are ignored. As the tight space closes in, a traumatic childhood memory surfaces. Someone knew about her weakness and weaponized it. Dizziness overwhelms her, and she crumples to the floor. Just as she starts to fade, a red system window appears, warning of a life-threatening panic attack. It's immediately followed by another pop-up, an emergency escape quest. The reward for success is Do-gyum's unconditional protection, but failure means her survival isn't guaranteed. Lying helpless, she sees a final offer. A random box gives her a chance to escape, but she must choose one of 4 people to help her. The system adds a cryptic hint. Choosing correctly might allow her to finally meet the entity behind the status windows. Lying on the cold container floor, Ai-hee considered the system's bizarre offer to meet the entity behind the status windows. Annoyed by its cryptic nature during a life-or-death crisis, she decided to play along. The question was, who would she choose for help? Uncle I-hyum was the most mature, level-headed option. Do-gyum, on the other hand, was a definite no. The memory of his threatening words on the phone was still fresh, making her shudder. Firm in her decision, she tapped Seo I-hyum's name. But instead of the man, a bright light erupted, and a handgun materialized before her. Ai-hee froze. She recognized it immediately from the game's prologue. This was the exact weapon the original heroine, Yoon used when she reached a tragic bad ending. Was the system pushing her toward the same fate? He refused to accept it. Gripping the cold weapon, her fear hardened into pure resolve. She was not Yoon, and she would do whatever it took to survive. A crisis like this would not be her bad ending. With newfound resolve, Ahi aims the strange weapon at the container door and fires. The recoil sends her stumbling back. The shot wasn't meant to break the lock, but it creates a diversion. She quickly pulls out another item from the system, a small, glowing laser cutter. Activating it, she melts a hole in the door and slips out into the humid dock air. She's relieved to see Seo Ahyum, Dogyum, and a pale Seo Yeol have arrived with their men. Unseen by them, team leader Chai watches from a nearby truck, impressed by Ahi's resourcefulness and deciding to observe her a little longer. As Seo Ahyum confronts the rival Baekhyun faction, one of his own trusted guards suddenly delivers a heavy blow from behind. The president crumples from the unexpected betrayal, leaving his sons frozen in shock. Before Ahi can react or warn anyone, another guard grabs her, ordering her back inside. Her brief moment of freedom is already over. The guard shoves Ahi back towards the darkness, ordering her to stay inside. She struggles desperately, refusing to be locked up again. Just as she loses hope, a blur of motion sends the man holding her stumbling back. It's Seo Dogyum. He moves with shocking speed, neutralizing the remaining threats before they can even react, leaving them down for the count on the pavement. He immediately closes the distance to a stunned Ahi. His usual cold demeanor is gone, replaced by raw concern. Seeing her tears, he demands to know what those people did to her, vowing to make them pay. Shaking, Ahi explains she's just relieved to see him. Gently, Dogyum cups her face and apologizes, acknowledging how scared she must have been. He pulls her into a firm embrace, telling her everything is okay now. As she finally feels safe, a system window pops up. Dogyum's obsession level has increased. Held tightly, her thoughts turn to the strange entity behind the game. With the dockside confrontation over, Seo Ahyum stands victorious among his defeated opponents. Unseen, team leader Chai watches the entire scene unfold from the driver's seat of a nearby truck, a faint, knowing smile on her face. Her surveillance is interrupted by the arrival of the Baekhyun faction's leader, who casually suggests they have a chat. Ahyum cuts straight to the point, demanding to know why he pulled such a reckless stunt involving his kid. In the background, Dogyum holds a resting Ahi, confirming she is now out of danger. The rival leader admits he wanted to make a deal, confessing he used Ahi to test her value to the family. He then lays out his terms. Ahyum must give up his new office building project. In exchange, he will guarantee Ahi's safety. The man leaves Ahyum with a final warning, making it clear that unless his demands are met, Ahi will remain a prime target. The Baekhyun leader frames his ultimatum not as a threat, but as an offer of cooperation. He tells Seo Ahyum it's a cheap deal for Ahi's safety, gives him time to decide, and then turns to walk away. But he's stopped cold when a hand grips his shoulder. It's Seo Dogyum, and his expression is deadly serious. He informs the man that their conversation is far from over. Dogyum promises the rival leader will pay for what happened that day. Unfazed, the man calmly tells Dogyum not to hate him, claiming he never intended to harm Ahi from the start. The scene shifts. Ahi slowly awakens in a strange, bright space, disoriented and wondering where she is. She remembers being on the beach just moments ago. A system window suddenly appears before her, asking if she's awake. Before she can even react, the window reveals a new, futuristic-looking character. This person looks directly at Ahi and introduces herself as the system, leaving Ahi completely stunned. In a photo studio, Ahi gets ready, finding it hard to believe she's about to take a family photo. A system window suddenly appears, announcing that the family affection feature has been activated. While she knows this is a positive development, an unsettling feeling lingers. The system's avatar appears, cheekily asking if the player thinks a family photo counts as a system reward. Ahi ignores the jab, realizing her feelings for Dogyum were never strange or shameful. Just then, Dogyum enters the room, looking sharp in a suit, and asks if she's ready. Meanwhile, in a corporate office, the leader of the Baekhyun faction gets an update. His subordinate confirms that Seo I-hyum has officially withdrawn from the new headquarters project. The leader finds this suspicious, doubting I-hyum would fold so easily. He presses his subordinate, asking if he found some kind of weakness to use against him. The man denies it, which only enrages his boss. Slamming his hand on the desk, the leader furiously orders him to create a weakness if one doesn't exist, demanding more than a single, hollow victory. The leader of the Baekhyun faction furiously confronts his subordinate. He yells that the young man sits elegantly while others do the hard work, demanding he take responsibility equal to his position. But the subordinate just smirks, casually mentioning his plans to merge with another faction next year. The leader is stunned, calling the idea meaningless since they already control that group. This arrogance pushes the leader too far. He violently grabs his subordinate, warning him not to get cocky. He sees that just looking at the subordinate's face reminds him of his mother and ruins his mood. After the outburst, the leader gives a final, chilling command: find the weakness that will bring down the Shinwonpa faction and do not disappoint him again. The subordinate agrees and takes his leave, his mind already on the boss of Shinwonpa. But as he steps out of the office, he stopped in his tracks. Team leader Chai Iryong is standing right there, looking at him expectantly. Back at the Seo residence, Seo I-hyum thanks I-hee for agreeing to the family photo, admitting it can be awkward. She insists she's the grateful one, happy to be considered family. His expression turns serious as he asks if she's been feeling better since her return from the sea, clarifying that he means her heart, not just her body. I-hee tries to brush off his concern about her past trauma, but I-hyum reveals he didn't hear about it from Do-gyum. He learned of it from her mother long ago. The memory of I-hee's forced smile seems to trouble him deeply. He suddenly suggests they reconsider her engagement, declaring that she is far too good for his son. Seeing a potential out, I-hee asks why the engagement was arranged. I-hyum explains it was their parents' final wish. On that basis, she formally asks him to annul it for both her and Do-gyum's sake. But I-hyum delivers a shocking twist. Her parents were his benefactors, and the engagement was his desire first, a way to honor their precious bond. This revelation stuns I-hee, who now understands there's a much deeper connection she must unravel. Seo I-hyum reveals he knows about the trauma I-hee has carried since she was a little girl. He explains that her father was not just an acquaintance, but his close friend and a member of his organization. This connection is what made them a target. In a grim flashback, I-hee's mother frantically hides her in a small space just before their enemies attack. With the odds stacked against them, her father is quickly overwhelmed. He falls to the ground, desperately asking where his daughter is, but the rival leader only mocks him about a price. Back in the present, I-hyum delivers the first shocking twist. The price was his own wife, who had volunteered to be a hostage to protect I-hee's family. He was overseas and returned too late to save either her or I-hee's father. I-hee recoils, believing their families are bound by a cursed fate. But I-hyum corrects her. Her father passed trying to save his wife, and it was her mother who ultimately saved Do-gyum's life. I-hee is left speechless. Seo I-hyum concludes his story, explaining that while both he and I-hee carry deep wounds from the past, they are the only ones who can help each other heal. He insists his late wife would never have resented her parents for what happened. I-hee isn't so sure. She knows if their roles were reversed, she would be filled with resentment. The shared history between their families is heavier and more complicated than she ever imagined. Just then, Do-gyum appears, telling her it's time for the family photo. He cuts through her confusion, stating they don't have time to solve every mystery right now. Their number one priority is securing the happy ending. Later that night, Do-gyum sits alone in his room, exhausted but content. He admits to himself that the day wasn't so bad, simply because I-hee was with him. This newfound feeling solidifies his resolve. He calls team leader Chai, leaving a chilling message on her voicemail. He warns her to rethink her path and to never touch his family or Baek I-hee again, making it clear this is her final warning. Still reeling from the day's heavy revelations, I-hee tries to push Do-gyum away. She states that she likes gentle people, adding that he acts scary sometimes. His unreadable expression makes her nervous, and as he steps toward her bed, she begs him to stop coming closer. He pauses, noticing her teary eyes, and asks if she's crying. I-hee quickly denies it, insisting she's not a kid. She launches into a flustered explanation, rambling about independence and the pressures of becoming an adult. Do-gyum cuts her off by taking her hand, telling her not to worry about it. He bluntly calls her overly sensitive reaction burdensome. However, he then concedes that he might have overreacted a bit himself. Finding the conversation about their engagement strange, he tells her to get some rest and walks out of the room. I-hee is left completely stunned. First, he gave her his room, and now he's backing off when asked. His behavior was not what she expected at all. Left alone, I-hee begins to spiral. Do-gyum's calm retreat was the opposite of what she expected, and now she's worried anew. Tossing in her bed, she frets that he plans to leave her to handle the aftermath of their confrontation. Her entire mission is to save him from his tragic fate, and her mind flashes with grim visions from the game's original bad endings. She absolutely cannot let him end up like that. Bolstered by a new wave of determination, she vows to succeed. Meanwhile, Do-gyum sits alone, replaying their conversation. Her words, scary and burdensome, echo in his mind. He finally understands that she wasn't rejecting him. She was just cautiously trying to figure him out. A memory of his mother advising him to be gentle with people he likes reinforces this new perspective. Staring at a family photo on his desk, Do-gyum admits he wants a different kind of relationship with I-hee, something more than just family. The problem is, he has no idea how to achieve it. The first day of school arrives, and Baek I-hee is already late. Panicked about making a bad impression, she rushes out, dragging a sleepy Seo Do-gyum with her. In the car, Do-gyum's younger brother, Seo Yeol, is buzzing with energy. He boasts about how all the girls were checking him out during orientation and confidently asks I-hee what he should do if he becomes too popular. She just offers a flat good for you, privately relieved that Yeol is so sociable. Glancing at Do-gyum, she recalls how students in the original game avoided him because he was handsome but intimidating. Yeol then lets it slip that he's jealous because I-hee and Do-gyum are in the same class again, which seems to be news to her. When they get to school, Yeol is immediately swarmed by admirers. Do-gyum just tells I-hee to worry about her studies, but she quickly retorts that they need to get to class. As they enter, the room goes quiet, with students whispering in shock that the infamous Seo Do-gyum is their new classmate. As Baek I-hee steps into her new classroom, a system window flashes before her eyes, announcing that the main story progression has officially begun. While the teacher starts the lesson, I-hee is already planning her next move. She knows the game's original female lead, Yi-yeon, is about to make her first appearance. Her strategic thinking is cut short by Do-gyum, who is sitting beside her with an amused look. He leans in, teasing her about being partners again for the new semester. Flustered, she tells him to focus on the teacher, who then announces, a transfer student has arrived. This is the moment I-hee has been waiting for. She tries to get Do-gyum's attention, telling him to watch closely. Instead, he just puts his head on his desk to sleep. Panicked, I-hee watches as the beautiful, silver-haired Yoon enters and introduces herself. As I-hee remembers this iconic scene from the game, her nostalgia is shattered by a horrifying realization. As the silver-haired transfer student enters, I-hee's carefully constructed plans shatter. She remembers this scene perfectly, but the person standing before the class is not the female lead she expected. It's a boy. He introduces himself with a warm smile as Yi-yeon, leaving I-hee reeling in confusion. While the other students admire his good looks, she silently panics, questioning why the game's core story has been altered so dramatically. The teacher directs Yoon to the empty seat right in front of I-hee. As he sits, he accidentally knocks her pencil case to the floor. He quickly apologizes, picks it up, and introduces himself directly to her. He then turns his attention to the sleeping Do-gyum, playfully patting his head to wake him up and calling him his new seatmate. Do-gyum lifts his head, his friendly demeanor gone, replaced by a cold glare. The horrible realization finally hits I-hee. If Yoon is a man, is the main love story now supposed to be between him and Do-gyum? Her entire strategy is now completely useless. Baek I-hee's entire strategy falls apart. With the game's female lead now a boy, she realizes the main love story might be between two guys. She clutches her head, frantically trying to deny the situation. Maybe it's just a coincidence, a different person with the same name. But she knows it's not. Her mind spirals as she looks over at her fiancé, wondering if Do-gyum was into men all along. Her wild imagination even conjures a romantic scene between him and the handsome transfer student, Yoon. For a brief moment, she finds the idea interesting before violently shaking her head to snap out of it. Her strange behavior catches Do-gyum's eye. He glances over at her desk and sees she's been doodling Yoon-seol's name in her notebook. Completely misreading her panic state, he leans in and asks a simple question. Are you interested in him? A few days later, Ahi reflects on how her simple one-year survival plan has become so incredibly complicated. Ahi sits dejectedly, reflecting on how her plans have completely fallen apart. The arrival of a male Yoon-seol has made everything worse, and Do-gyum's possessiveness is now out of control. Just yesterday, Yoon-seol had tried to ask her for directions, but Do-gyum immediately grabbed her and pulled her away. A system notification confirmed his obsession level was increasing. He then made up an excuse, claiming he needed help finding the restroom and dragging a baffled Ahi along. The same thing happened in class this morning. When Yoon-seol asked Ahi a simple question, Do-gyum aggressively intervened, warning him off. Ahi realizes that Yoon-seol seems to be provoking Do-gyum on purpose. At lunch, Yoon-seol joins their table, playfully teasing Ahi about being a loner before leaning in close. As Ahi gets flustered by his sly tactics, Do-gyum glares from across the table, his knuckles white. The meal in front of him suddenly tastes like garbage. His patience finally snaps. Do-gyum slams his chopsticks on the table and abruptly stands, grabbing his tray. He orders a stunned Ahi to get up, telling her they're going to the snack bar. As he walks off without waiting, she yells that she hasn't even finished her meal. Of course, a system notification immediately flashes. His obsession level is up again. Ahi is at her wit's end, internally screaming for Do-gyum and Yoon-seol to just fall in love already and leave her alone. Later, a concerned Seo Yeol finds her looking completely stressed. He mentions that his brother has a scary aura and asks if he's made any friends. This gives Ahi a new idea. She needs to research this male version of Yoon-seol to push the two leads together. But it feels impossible when Yoon-seol keeps provoking Do-gyum by getting close to her. Deciding to take matters into her own hands, she heads to the men's restroom to find Yoon-seol. But inside, she's stopped by an unfamiliar girl who wants to speak with her. At school, Baek Ahi is confronted by a classmate, Jang Solji. A game-like notification flashes in Ahi's mind, identifying Solji as a new rival who views her as an obstacle. Solji wastes no time, cornering Ahi and demanding to know if she's dating Seo Do-gyum. Ahi is stunned as Solji declares that rumors about them are all over the school. Another friend chimes in, providing evidence. They've been seen holding hands and eating lunch together for a year. Flustered, Ahi denies everything, insisting they can't possibly date. In a moment of panic, she blurts out that their families are close. So close, in fact, that they're practically siblings. To sell this ridiculous lie, Ahi pretends the thought of dating Do-gyum is so disgusting it makes her gag. Her friends, shocked by the extreme reaction, let her escape. But Solji isn't convinced. As she walks away, she complains that Ahi was also hitting on the new transfer student. Unseen by the girls, that same transfer student, Yi Yoon-seol, leans against a nearby doorframe, a sly smile playing on his lips as he overhears everything. Ahi's mission to learn more about Yoon-seol takes an unexpected turn when he shows up at her classroom, claiming he's been waiting for her. He smoothly asks her to join him on a trip to the teacher's office, saying he feels awkward going alone. There, Ahi gets wrangled into helping him carry a heavy stack of new textbooks. The teacher then surprises her by bringing up Do-gyum's drastically improved quiz score, giving her full credit for tutoring him. As they leave, Yoon-seol starts laying on the charm, calling her cute. Ahi is flustered. This is the character who is supposed to be with Do-gyum, not flirting with her. She tries to deflect his cheesy lines, but he persists. Internally, she decides he is definitely not her type. Suddenly, Yoon-seol's friendly smile vanishes. He corners her against the wall, his expression turning serious as he asks if she's unhappy with her role as Do-gyum's tutor. Yoon-seol's friendly demeanor disappears in an instant. Pinning Ahi against the wall, his expression turns cold as he asks if she's unhappy taking on a role that isn't hers. Before a flustered Ahi can respond, a system alert flashes in her vision, warning that Do-gyum is nearby, feeling frustrated and suspicious of Yoon-seol. Right on cue, Do-gyum appears, surprising them both. Seeing the stack of books in Ahi's arms, he immediately steps in, telling Yoon-seol to carry his own things and stop using people. Yoon-seol tries to play it cool, but Do-gyum doesn't back down, pressing the issue. Yoon-seol looks between them, a sharp glint in his eyes as he remarks that they seem closer than he thought. Ahi feels completely exposed by his knowing stare. The tense standoff is broken by another system notification, this time issuing a brand new quest. Ahi must discover the true identity of the mysterious original female lead, Yoon-seol. The tense standoff is interrupted by a new system alert. Ahi receives a main quest, reveal Yoon-seol's true identity. The stakes are massive. If she succeeds, her relationship with him will be redefined. But if she fails, a new, bullying episode will begin, a fate she absolutely refuses to accept. Panicked, Ahi decides she has to solve this mystery right now. As Yoon-seol tries to walk away with the books, Ahi dramatically steps forward, stopping him in his tracks. Both boys look on, confused, as she launches into a wild deduction. She declares that his bizarre identity, a being that is somehow both male and female, has been exposed. Yoon-seol tells her to stop joking, but Ahi is dead serious. Grabbing his arm, she frantically explains that his special female lead face is the key. Putting all the clues together, she yells her final answer. He's a white worm beast man of both genders. While Yoon-seol is speechless, Do-geum cracks a smug smile. A notification reveals his affinity has increased. He's satisfied that she's messing with the guy who bothered her first. He simply says, "Yeah, I get it." Yoon-seol is completely flustered by Ahi's wild accusation. Looking mortified, he admits he doesn't come across as very masculine and just wants her to stop. Seeing an opening, Do-geum steps in with an icy glare and tells Yoon-seol to get lost. Later, as Do-geum and Ahi walk home, she cringes at her own outburst. Do-geum agrees she overdid it, calling her insult incredibly creative. But his playful mood sours. He stops her, asking directly if she likes faces like Yoon-seol's, recalling how she called him pretty. Ahi tells him to get along with the guy, but Do-geum flatly refuses, stating Yoon-seol is obviously hitting on her and there's no way he'll be friendly with him. He presses further, asking what he should do if Yoon-seol is her type. Leaning in, he wonders if he should start acting like him. Exasperated, Ahi shoves him and blurts out that he's already handsome. Her sudden, heartfelt compliment leaves Do-geum stunned and speechless. Do-geum is momentarily speechless from her compliment, but quickly points out that she called Yoon-seol pretty just moments before. Completely flustered, Ahi blurts out that she likes Do-geum, not someone with Yoon-seol's style. Taking her confession at face value, he asks if she really likes him. Ahi panics, clarifying she was only talking about his face and telling him to stop starting pointless rivalries. Suddenly, her system goes wild. A barrage of notifications appears, stating that while Do-geum is confused, his affinity for her is rapidly increasing. His jealousy boiling over, Do-geum grabs her and pins her against a wall. He demands that if she really likes him more, she needs to prove it by insulting Yoon-seol. Ahi calls him childish for pulling such a cheap move. The accusation snaps him back to reality, and he immediately lets her go, apologizing for forgetting how much she dislikes being pressured. He steps back, but Ahi's conflicted expression suggests she might not have hated the bold move as much as she claimed. As they walk, Do-geum visibly wrestles with his thoughts. He stops her, asking if she has any idea how strange she is. He admits he can't figure her out, whether she's incredibly perceptive or just completely clueless. He doesn't know if she's deliberately toying with him or if she means nothing by her actions. He's deeply conflicted, remembering the girl who once seemed to genuinely care, wondering who she really is. He tells her she keeps pushing him away, then confesses she likes him, leaving him totally confused. Seeing his vulnerability, Ahi softly says his name. Just as he hoped, she admits that she does see him clearly. His expression changes. He abruptly grabs her hand and pulls her into a nearby alley. When she asks where he's going, he turns away, his ears red, and calls her an idiot. He explains it's a shortcut and tells her to follow. Left in his wake, a blushing Ahi thinks to herself that she never meant to play with his heart. During a family dinner, Seo Ahyum asks Ahi about school, but her younger brother, Seo Yeol, eagerly cuts in. He reveals that she has become the school's hot potato, with rumors spreading like wildfire about a love triangle between her, Do-geum, and the new transfer student, Yoon-seol. Ahi is completely stunned by the news. While their father sternly warns about the trouble transfer students can cause, Do-geum's expression darkens. He orders Yeol to immediately correct anyone spreading the rumor, firmly stating that Aihee has zero interest in Yoonseol. Trying to defuse the situation, Aihee brightly announces she already handled it by telling everyone they are like siblings. Her solution backfires spectacularly. A system notification flashes, informing her that Dogium is now anxious and flustered. He turns to her, his gaze intense, and flatly tells her that he has never once thought of her as a sister. His declaration hangs in the air, leaving Aihee speechless. Frozen by his intense declaration, Aihee tries to explain herself. She stammers that she only made up the sibling story to shut down the rampant dating rumors at school. But Dogium remains firm, quietly asking what she expected him to say in that situation. The pressure is too much. Aihee suddenly raises her voice, then immediately apologizes and excuses herself from the table, leaving a stunned Yeol in her wake. Walking away, her heart pounds with frustration. One minute he makes her flutter, the next he's impossible to read. Later, Seo Ahyum summons Dogium to his office. He calmly asks why his son would say something to upset the girl who once risked her life for Yeol. Assuming Dogium resents the engagement, Ahyum offers a shocking alternative. Perhaps he should arrange for Yeol to be Aihee's fiancé instead. The suggestion sends Dogium into a panic. He clenches his fist, instantly shooting down the idea. Flustered, he admits that he doesn't hate the arrangement, then quickly recovers. He decides to end the conversation and tells his father he'll go talk to Aihee himself. As Dogium prepares to leave his father's office, Ahyum gives him a heads up. Aihee probably isn't in her room. He heard Yeol was excited to do something with her tonight, and Dogium's expression sours. Meanwhile, Aihee meets up with a remorseful Yeol. To make up for causing trouble at dinner, he's prepared a full-on gaming night to treat her like a queen, complete with snacks and a popular horror title on the big screen. Delighted, Aihee grabs a controller, ready to show off her pro skills. While Yeol frets that the game might be too scary, Aihee just smirks, clearly in her element. Just as they settle in, a system window alerts Aihee that Dogium is lingering right outside the door. A second notification pops up, explaining he's upset that she forgot his warning to be careful around other men. Confused, Aihee wonders if that warning includes her own brother. Outside the room, Dogium reaches for the handle but stops, hesitating to go inside. As the horror game starts, Yeol immediately panics at the intense opening scene, clinging to Aihee for dear life. While Aihee is a total pro, expertly guiding their characters, Yeol is a mess, screaming about needing a flashlight in the dark. Amused, she teases him, finding his reactions more frightening than the actual game. Outside, Dogium listens to their playful banter, his mood souring. He can hear Yeol begging to stay close because the ghosts keep popping out. Dogium clenches his fist, his patience wearing thin as he overhears his brother getting a little too comfortable. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Dogium stands there, his expression absolutely glacial. He storms in and pries his younger brother off of Aihee, who is stunned by the interruption. Yeol demands to know what his problem is. With a cold glare, Dogium tells him he's a grown man now and needs to restrain himself from being so clingy. He then snatches the controller, declaring he's turning off the game and that Yeol should stick to something more his speed. With a smirk, Dogium declares the game is over, telling his little brother to stop using Aihee as an excuse to be so clingy. He presses a button on the controller, but Yeol shouts for him to stop. Too late. A horrific face erupts onto the screen, startling Dogium so badly he throws the controller and tumbles backward onto the floor. As an embarrassed Yeol flicks on the lights, Aihee rushes to Dogium's side, asking if he's hurt. Hiding his face, he insists he's fine and tells her not to worry. Looking between the flustered older brother on the floor and the younger one blushing by the wall, Aihee can't help but laugh. She points out that they truly are brothers. Both are complete scaredy cats. While Yeol weakly protests, Dogium finds himself captivated by her bright expression. Despite his own humiliation, he's just glad she's in a better mood. Now he thinks he can finally say what he came here to tell her. With the horror game over, Aihee announces she's heading to bed. But as she turns to leave, Dogium suddenly grabs her wrist, telling her to hold on. Confused, she asks if he's still upset about what happened at dinner, though she admits she'd already forgotten about it. Looking surprisingly sincere, Dogium apologizes. He explains he never meant to hurt her or put her on the spot. He confesses that he's always thought of them as a different kind of family, not just siblings, and her words had caught him off guard. The unexpected intensity of his statement leaves I-hee flustered. She quickly tells him it's fine, and that he doesn't need to keep explaining. Seizing the moment, Do-gyum then asks if she can help him study the next day. She offers to look at his homework right away, but he refuses, clarifying that taking her to his room this late isn't some cheap trick, leaving his true feelings hanging in the air. I-hee quickly brushes off his intensity, claiming she has no hidden motives for helping him study. But inside, Do-gyum admits that he has plenty. He wants a real date with her and feels a sting of jealousy, wondering how his little brother managed to get close to her so fast. Flustered by his stare, I-hee insists their study sessions don't count as dates. Seeing her reaction, Do-gyum presses further, asking if the idea of a date with him is really that bad. Mortified, she tells him to stop overthinking it and pulls him along to his room, demanding they get started before she changes her mind. Later, I-hee is in full tutor mode, pointing out his repeated mistakes. As she explains that it's okay to fail as long as you learn from it, Do-gyum finds himself completely captivated. He thinks her bubbly handwriting is just like her. But as he watches her expressive face, he can't shake a nagging question: why is she so comfortable with Yeol? As I-hee tutors him, Do-gyum can't focus, still irritated by how close she is to his brother. He cheekily asks if she could just do all his homework for him, but his mind drifts to a past memory of asking someone to rely on him. Snapping him back to the present, I-hee is surprised he remembers her advice, that studying is a process of finding the right answer. For Do-gyum, those words hit differently. The only answer he's looking for is her heart. He's overwhelmed by these strange new feelings. He finds her endlessly frustrating yet so lovely that he can't look away. While Do-gyum is lost in his thoughts, I-hee pulls out her phone to play a game. After she loses a round, her screen is suddenly flooded with system notifications. They all repeat the same unbelievable message. Seo Do-gyum thinks supporting character Baek I-hee is lovely. Completely flustered, she tosses her phone on the bed, convinced that he is acting incredibly weird. Tossing in bed, I-hee buries her face in her pillow, completely overwhelmed by the spamming notifications about Do-gyum's feelings. She feels like she's losing her mind. If this is how he really feels, she doesn't know how she can keep pushing him away. As she spirals, a purple energy crackles around her, and a holographic figure of a woman with headphones suddenly appears. The mysterious guide tells I-hee that her choices are her own to make. Stunned, I-hee demands to know where she has been. She confronts the guide about the confusing main quest, to expose Yi Yunseol's identity. I-hee argues that this is impossible since Yunseol is currently a boy. But the guide reveals she only dropped by because I-hee was rattled by something else. She bluntly states that it's now obvious Seo Do-gyum likes her. Face burning red, I-hee explodes in frustration, telling the guide she's the worst before ordering her to leave. As the hologram vanishes, the guide muses that while I-hee is a mess, she's a gamble worth taking. As I-hee lies in bed, still reeling from her encounter, the guide's final thoughts linger. Out of countless routes, I-hee is the only one who ever managed to save Seo I-hyum and truly capture Do-gyum's heart. The guide believes that on this unique path I-hee is forging for herself, she will eventually find the answer she's looking for. That same night, Do-gyum is also lost in thought, studying intensely at his desk with a serious expression. The next morning at school, he is unusually distant, walking ahead of I-hee and making her wonder if he's avoiding her. Just as she's about to get lost in her worries, his younger brother, Seo Yeol, calls out to her. He leans in close with a sly grin and drops an absolute bombshell. He suggests that the person she gets engaged to doesn't necessarily have to be Do-gyum. I-hee is left completely speechless, her cheeks flushing at the shocking implication. Seo Yeol leans in with a sly grin, dropping an absolute bombshell on the already confused I-hee. He suggests that the person she gets engaged to doesn't necessarily have to be his older brother. Stunned, I-hee's mind briefly flashes to an absurdly romantic scenario of Yeol promising to treat her better and run away with her. She snaps out of it, horrified by the thought. Yeol quickly backtracks, claiming he didn't mean it in a weird way, but his bright red ears betray his embarrassment. I-hee is internally panicking. Dealing with Do-gyum is complicated enough, and she can't handle a potential love triangle involving his younger brother. She firmly shuts him down, telling him to stop and get to class. Looking genuinely hurt, Yul quietly asks if she really only sees him as a kid. Before he can get an answer, a familiar voice cuts in from behind. It's Dogyum, asking his brother where Baek I-hee is. Yul freezes on the spot, completely shocked by his Hyung's unexpected arrival. In the classroom, I-hee notices Dogyum's empty seat just as the bell is about to ring. Her thoughts are interrupted when a classmate, the original game's heroine Yoonseol, asks why she arrived without Dogyum. Yoonseol smirks, noting they're always together, almost like they're dating. The comment makes I-hee flustered. Yoonseol's friendly demeanor vanishes as she accuses I-hee of playing games and warns her she's digging her own grave. Not wanting a scene, I-hee leans in close and whispers that Yoonseol doesn't need to act this way. She clarifies she has no prejudice and even offers to support Yoonseol if she's interested in Dogyum. This sends Yoonseol into a panic. She tries to shout that she's not interested in him, but I-hee quickly covers her mouth. As Yoonseol struggles, she tries to confess that the one she's really interested in is I-hee. Before she can get the words out, a cold voice cuts through the classroom chatter from behind them. It's Dogyum, telling Yoonseol to stop being interested in Baek I-hee. With a cold look, Dogyum steps in, telling Yoonseol that Baek I-hee is too much for her to be interested in. He grabs I-hee's shoulder, pulling her protectively behind him. Everyone in class is stunned. Dogyum looks completely different, his hair is styled perfectly, and his uniform is neat. The other students whisper excitedly, comparing his new idol-like appearance to his usual rough look. Even I-hee is speechless, her heart pounding. His gangster vibe is completely gone, and she has to admit, he's totally her type. She asks what happened, and he casually explains he visited his father's salon. He didn't go for an audition. He did it all just to come to school and walk home with her later. Leaning in close, Dogyum adds that he'd been thinking about her wrong answer notebook comment. He reveals that this new look was his attempt to match her taste, and with a confident smirk, he asks her what she thinks. At school, Baek I-hee ties up her hair, lost in thought. She realizes that in stories, a male lead changing his appearance is a major event done for the heroine. It finally sinks in that Co Dogyum did all of that just for her. Suddenly, a classmate named Jang Solji interrupts, accusing I-hee of being a sly homewrecker who remodeled Dogyum to fit her style. Solji laughs, sarcastically asking for tips on how to handle both Dogyum and Yi Yoonseol. Tired of the act, I-hee confronts her directly, asking what her goal is. She correctly guesses that Solji was the one who spread the rumor about their supposed love triangle. Solji shamelessly admits it, declaring that the rumor isn't even wrong. I-hee is stunned, recognizing Solji as a key antagonist from an old game quest. Before she can strategize, Solji explodes, demanding that I-hee stay away from Dogyum. Just as their shouting gets louder, Yoonseol appears at the classroom door, calmly telling everyone it's time for gym class. The tension in the classroom is thick. I-hee is visibly annoyed by Yoonseol's presence, finding her continued efforts grating. Later, as I-hee walks down the hall, Dogyum suddenly appears, placing a hand on her shoulder to stop her. He looks directly at Yoonseol, coolly telling her she's being too persistent. Undeterred, Yoonseol tries to finish the confession she started that morning, asking I-hee for her thoughts on Yoonseol's interest. Before I-hee can react, Dogyum steps in again. With a confident smirk, he tells Yoonseol there's no way I-hee would ever like her. Declaring the timing bad for this conversation, he walks away, leaving Yoonseol alone and suspicious. Elsewhere, Dogyum arrives at the PE storage room to do his cleaning duties. He realizes he needs to lock up but forgot to get the keys from the teacher. He walks over to the storage unit, frustrated with himself. To his surprise, however, he discovers that the door is already unlocked, making him wonder what's going on. Dogyum stood before the PE storage room, completely puzzled. He'd forgotten to get the keys, yet the door was already unlocked. The situation felt off, making no sense to him. He knew for a fact he'd arrived at the cleaning area before Yoonseol, so he couldn't imagine who could have opened it. Later, during gym class, the teacher announced a new activity, partner dodgeball. To help everyone get closer, he suggested they form boy-girl pairs. The room filled with excited chatter as students began pairing up. While I-hee's friends teased her about Dogyum, he confidently walked over and told her it was time to go to the court. His direct approach fueled rumors that they were dating. However, I-hee wasn't interested in the gossip. Spotting Yoonseol standing alone, she made a surprising choice. She walked up to him, pointed out that he didn't have a partner, and boldly asked him to team up instead, leaving everyone else stunned. Do-gyum is completely blindsided by I-hee's choice. He confronts her, demanding to know why she picked Yoon-seol over him. A system notification confirms his obvious discomfort, but I-hee offers a weak excuse, claiming she just wanted a refreshing change. Her answer only makes Do-gyum more upset. He coldly suggests that if she really wants change, they might as well pretend they've never met. The situation gets more complicated when Yoon-seol points out her mixed signals, rejecting him one moment, then choosing him the next. To fix the mess, I-hee acts decisively. She grabs another classmate, Jang Solji, and pushes her toward Do-gyum, creating a new pair. While the class cheers, Do-gyum can only watch in disbelief as I-hee walks off with Yoon-seol. Struggling to understand her motives, Do-gyum is left completely frustrated. As they head to the court, Yoon-seol smirks at I-hee, telling her he now expects her to act as his shield, leaving her stunned by his demand. As the dodgeball game begins, Yoon-seol claims he has no talent for sports, much to I-hee's disbelief. With all pairs formed, the teacher splits them into teams and starts the match. Instantly, a ball rockets toward Jang Solji. Do-gyum moves in a blur, deflecting the shot and leaving his partner impressed by his scary speed. Watching from the other side, I-hee feels a bit annoyed by the scene. A moment later, a ball flies her way, and she snatches it from the air with surprising skill, earning a look of shock from Yoon-seol. Do-gyum observes this, torn between relief that her training paid off and irritation that she's protecting Yoon-seol. Yoon-seol then tells I-hee to take out Solji. She winds up and hurls the ball, but Do-gyum intercepts it again, taking the hit for his partner. Seeing him diligently protect the other girl, I-hee's face darkens with frustration. Yoon-seol leans in close, whispering that she looks like a wife who just caught her husband cheating. Annoyed by Yoon-seol's teasing, I-hee asks why he's suddenly so interested in her relationship with Do-gyum. Yoon-seol points out that she's the one sending mixed signals by pushing the male lead away. I-hee explains that getting too close to him will only fuel the messy love triangle rumors. Yoon-seol finds her excuses flimsy, continuing to poke fun at her supposed plan. As they argue, a dodgeball flies straight for I-hee's face. Before she can react, Do-gyum intercepts it, his expression cold and furious. Yoon-seol leans in, whispering that her husband looks seriously mad. He then grabs I-hee's arm, insisting they meet after school to finally clear the air about her and Do-gyum. Across the court, Do-gyum's focus is completely broken by their hushed conversation. Seeing his opening, he winds up and launches the ball with pinpoint accuracy. It rockets past I-hee and slams squarely into Yoon-seol, knocking him to the ground. Standing over his fallen target, Do-gyum flashes a satisfied, menacing smirk. He got him. With a sharp thud, the dodgeball slams into Yoon-seol, sending him staggering to the floor with a bloody nose. I-hee rushes over in a panic, asking if he's okay. The commotion brings the game to a halt, and another student loudly accuses Do-gyum of bullying the transfer student. When the teacher asks if the throw was on purpose, Do-gyum flashes a devious smirk, casually claiming he was just trying to catch a mosquito that was buzzing around. The teacher dismisses his excuse and instructs I-hee to take her partner to the nurse's office. However, Yoon-seol gets to his feet, insisting he's fine. He then cleverly suggests that I-hee could take over his cleaning duty with Do-gyum instead. Before anyone can object, he tosses a key to Do-gyum, telling him the storage room is already open. Annoyed, I-hee realizes she's been masterfully maneuvered into yet another scenario alone with Do-gyum, feeling like she's right back at square one. Meanwhile, down the hall, Yoon-seol dangles the real key, his scheme a complete success. Alone in the storage room, I-hee begins to explain that her interaction with Yoon-seol was a misunderstanding, but Do-gyum quickly cuts her off. He asks if she's still thinking about the transfer student. Flustered, I-hee denies it, claiming she was just worried about his bloody nose. With a smug grin, Do-gyum boasts that he was proud of his throw, feeling like all his training had finally paid off. Sensing her exasperation, he softens his tone. He apologizes if he scared her, assuring her that he aimed precisely, so the ball would never hit her, only Yoon-seol. He then confesses that he couldn't stand seeing Yoon-seol near her and that his entire focus was on keeping the guy in check. I-hee insists Yoon-seol isn't her type, but Do-gyum presses on, saying it bothers him how she seems drawn to certain guys. He steps closer, making it clear he isn't expecting a huge commitment, but he needs her to be honest with him about what she wants. Still reeling from Do-gyum's confession, Aihee is completely caught off guard when he steps closer, stating that this isn't working. He swiftly backs her against the storage room door, leaving her flustered and trapped. Mortified, she stammers that they can't do this, her mind jumping to conclusions. Do-gyum smirks, teasing that he was just going to open the door because of the dust, accusing her of having a wild imagination. Blushing furiously, Aihee admits she thought he was about to make a move. The playful moment shatters when Do-gyum actually tries the handle and finds it stuck. He turns to her, his expression serious, and confirms the door is locked. A wave of panic hits Aihee. She bangs on the door, but no one answers. Do-gyum attempts to ram it open with his shoulder, but it refuses to budge. Trapped together in the tiny, dusty room, the air suddenly feels very thin, and Aihee struggles to catch her breath. As Aihee's panic takes hold, she struggles to catch her breath. Do-gyum immediately abandons his efforts to break down the door and kneels beside her, asking what's wrong. Gasping, she tells him it's her breathing. She can't seem to get enough air. The sight triggers a distant memory for Do-gyum. He remembers being a young boy in a hospital bed, overhearing his father speak to another man. They were discussing a girl named Aihee, who suffered from severe trauma after being trapped somewhere and now had trouble breathing. His father had insisted on covering her treatment, mentioning his own son was in a similar situation. Back in the present, the pieces fall into place. Understanding dawns on Do-gyum. He gently takes hold of Aihee, his voice firm but calm. He tells her to match his breathing. Looking directly at her, he instructs her to breathe in slowly, then out again, guiding her through the overwhelming wave of fear. As her breathing evens out, Aihee admits she feels much better, thanking Do-gyum. She realizes that being next to him makes her feel safe. He says he's glad she's okay, but his strained expression gives him away. Aihee notices his hand is trembling. It dawns on her that he was just as scared as she was, but he chose to prioritize her well-being over his own panic. She looks at him, asking why he's pretending everything is fine when he's clearly suffering. Before he can respond, she pulls him into a sudden hug. Stunned, he asks what she's doing. Aihee explains that she can see the fear all over his face and wants to help him the same way he helped her. While holding him, she quietly wonders if their shared trauma is the reason she was brought into this world. As they stay locked in the embrace, Do-gyum's mind flashes back to his childhood, realizing the forgotten connection between Aihee and his family might be real after all. With the immediate danger over, Do-gyum asks Aihee why she's staring at him. She lets out a small laugh, admitting that it's all thanks to him that she's okay. He quietly agrees, thanking her in return for her help. In that brief moment of connection, a system window pops up in front of Aihee, announcing that her limit has been unlocked. She has no idea what this means. Their thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a loud knock. The class representative has come looking for them, worried when they didn't show up. She opens the door with a spare key, questioning how they got locked in. The door can only be locked from the outside, but Do-gyum confirms he has his key. As confusion mounts, Aihee's mind drifts to a scene from the original game. She sees Yoon-seol confronting her, revealing her plan to send Aihee away before Do-gyum panics and goes berserk. Yoon-seol smirks, calling the male lead a little obsessive, confirming Aihee's suspicions about who trapped them.